Daniel Brooks didn't expect anything that night. Outside, snow fell softly against the windows of the restaurant, covering the streets in silence. Inside, the laughter was easy. The conversation felt natural. For the first time in years, this single dad wasn't bracing himself for disappointment. Then, just before dessert arrived, the woman across from him looked down, gripping her napkin like it was the only thing keeping her steady. "You can leave," she said quietly. "I'm a single mom." And in that frozen moment, Daniel knew whatever he said next would change everything. The parking lot was empty at 6 in the morning. Daniel Brooks sat in his car, engine running, watching frost creep across the windshield in delicate patterns. 35 years old, IT systems analyst, single father to a 7-year-old boy named Lucas. The company building loomed ahead, dark windows reflecting the gray December sky. 4 stories of brick and glass. He'd been walking through those doors for 6 years now. 6 years of the same routine, the same desk, the same problems that never really changed. He didn't want to go in. Not because he hated the job. He was good at it, competent, reliable. The kind of employee managers forgot about because he never caused problems. Show up on time. Fix the issues. Go home. Repeat. A perfect cog in the machine. That was the issue. He'd become forgettable. A name on a timesheet. A figure in the background of team meetings. Someone who existed but didn't really matter. When had that happened? When had he stopped being a person and started being a function? Daniel turned off the engine. The heater died immediately. Cold air seeped through the vents, settling into the car like an unwelcome guest. His phone buzzed. "Lucas. Dad, when you picking me up?" Daniel, 4:30. Like always. Lucas, K. One word. Standard for a 7-year-old. But it still stung a little. Daniel remembered when Lucas used to greet him with full sentences. Full hugs, full smiles that lit up his whole face. Now he got one-word texts and distracted nods. He told himself it was normal. Kids grew up, got independent, found their own worlds. But part of him wondered if Lucas had just learned not to expect much, not to ask for more than the bare minimum. Maybe his son had picked up on the emotional distance Daniel kept from everyone, including him. Daniel stepped out into the cold. Snow crunched under his boots. The wind cut through his jacket, sharp and bitter. Across the lot, other cars were starting to arrive. Janet from HR driving her white Lexus. Marcus from sales in his pickup truck. People with lives he knew nothing about. People who probably went home to warmth. To partners. To conversations that mattered. He pulled his collar up and walked faster. Inside, the office was warm but lifeless. Fluorescent lights hummed overhead. That constant electric drone that gave him headaches by afternoon. Beige walls, gray carpet, the distant sound of keyboards clicking. The hum of servers in the back room where the real work happened. Invisible and thankless. "Morning, Daniel." Stephanie from accounting. Coffee in hand. Smile that never quite reached her eyes. She wore the same expression every day. Polite, professional. Tired. Maybe everyone here was tired. "Morning." She walked past without waiting for more. That was fine. Daniel had nothing more to give anyway. Daniel sat at his desk. Second row from the window. Close enough to see outside, but not close enough for the good view. Those spots went to people who'd been here longer, or people who mattered more. He opened his laptop. The company logo appeared. Password prompt. He typed it in automatically. Muscle memory after 6 years. The desktop loaded. Email notifications piled up. 16 new messages since yesterday. Most of them automated. System alerts, policy updates. Things that didn't require a response. Things designed to make people feel busy without actually accomplishing anything. He opened the ticketing system instead. Ticket cancelletto 284Z. Password reset request. User: Margaret Klein. Ticket #2848. Printer offline in conference room B. Ticket #2849. Email won't send. User: Kevin Torres. Same problems. Different day. Different people making the same mistakes. Daniel fixed them mechanically. Reset the password through the admin panel. Restarted the printer remotely. Cleared Kevin's Outbox cache and sent him a reminder to not attach files over the size limit. Tickets closed. 3 more appeared immediately. He worked through them one by one. Password resets. Connection issues. Someone's mouse stopped working. Have you tried restarting? Yes. Okay. I'll send someone down. At 9:30, his manager walked by. Gave him a thumbs up. Kept walking to his office with the door that actually closed. At 10, someone brought donuts to the break room. Daniel didn't get up. By the time he thought about it, they'd be gone anyway. The forgotten ones got work. Lunch came and went. Protein bar at his desk. Water from the cooler. He ate while reading documentation for a software update that wouldn't happen for another 3 months. Maybe longer. Projects always got delayed. By 3, his back hurt from sitting. He stood up, stretched. Walked to the bathroom just to move. Just to remember what it felt like to exist in a body instead of in front of a screen. In the mirror, he looked tired. Older than 35. Lines around his eyes that hadn't been there 2 years ago. Gray creeping into his hair at the temples. When did that start? He splashed water on his face. Cold? Shocking. It helped a little. Went back to his desk. By 4, he was counting minutes. 4:10, 4:12, 4:14. At 4:15, he logged off. Grabbed his coat. Didn't say goodbye to anyone because no one was paying attention anyway. He drove to Lucas's school. Washington Elementary. Red brick building with a playground out back where kids played during recess. The pickup line stretched around the block. Parents in SUVs, engines idling, phones glowing in the twilight. Some talked on calls. Some stared straight ahead. All waiting. Daniel waited. 3rd car from the front today. Not bad. He watched the school doors. Kids poured out in clusters, laughing, shoving. Alive in ways that adults forgot how to be. They still believed in things. Still got excited. Still felt everything at full volume. Lucas appeared near the back of the line. Backpack too big for his small frame. Dark hair sticking up in the back. He walked slowly, scanning the cars until he found Daniel's. He climbed into the back seat without a word. How was school? Fine. What'd you learn? Stuff. Daniel glanced in the rearview mirror. Lucas stared out the window. Not sulking. Just distant. Like he was there but not really there. Math stuff or reading stuff? Both. Anything interesting? Lucas shrugged. Daniel tried a different angle. Want to get pizza? Can we just go home? Sure. They drove in silence. Daniel turned on the radio. Some pop station Lucas liked. But Lucas didn't react. Just kept staring out the window as the city rolled past. Streetlights coming on. Stores closing. People heading home to wherever home was. Home for them was a 2-bedroom apartment on the 3rd floor of a converted building. Parking in the back. Stairs that creaked. A hallway that always smelled faintly of someone else's cooking, usually garlic. Sometimes curry. Daniel unlocked the door. Lucas pushed past him, dropped his backpack by the coat rack, and went straight to his room. The door closed. Not slammed. Just closed. Which somehow felt worse. Daniel stood in the kitchen. Dishes in the sink from breakfast. Coffee mug. Bowl with dried cereal stuck to the sides. Laundry folded on the couch, waiting to be put away. It had been there for 2 days. Christmas lights he kept meaning to hang still in the box by the door. The apartment wasn't messy, just lived in, functional, empty. This was his life now. Wake up at 5:30. Shower. Make breakfast. Wake Lucas. Drive him to school. Go to work. Fix tickets. Eat lunch alone. Fix more tickets. Pick up Lucas. Drive home. Make dinner. Help with homework if Lucas let him. Put Lucas to bed by 8:30. Sit alone in the living room watching shows he didn't care about until he was tired enough to sleep. Repeat. Weekends were different. Every other weekend, Lucas went to his mom's place. Melissa, his ex-wife. They'd been divorced for 5 years now. The split had been civil. No screaming. No throwing things. Just a quiet acknowledgement that they'd stopped being happy. That they'd become strangers living in the same house. So they'd ended it before the resentment turned to hate. Now they coexisted. She had her life. He had his. Lucas bounced between them like a package being passed back and forth. Neither of them liked it, but what could they do? This was divorce. This was shared custody. This was reality. On those weekends when Lucas was gone, Daniel had the apartment to himself. Total freedom. He could do anything. Go out, meet people, see a movie, take a trip. Instead, he did laundry, grocery shopping, meal prep for the week ahead, caught up on work emails, cleaned the bathroom, organized the closet. He'd stopped hoping for something different years ago. Hope was expensive. It required belief that things could change, that someone might want to build a life with a man who came with baggage and bedtimes and a kid who barely talked, a man whose idea of excitement was getting through the week without a crisis, a man who was too tired to dream about anything beyond the next day. Daniel opened the fridge. Leftover pasta in a plastic container, broccoli that was starting to wilt, half a rotisserie chicken from 3 days ago. Some orange juice Lucas wouldn't drink. He grabbed the pasta, popped it in the microwave, pressed 2 minutes, watched it spin. The smell filled the small kitchen. Garlic, tomato sauce, basil. It smelled better than it would taste. Reheated food always did. The microwave beeped. He ate standing at the counter, staring at nothing, chewing without tasting. Fork to mouth, swallow, repeat. Outside, snow began to fall again. Fat flakes drifting down through the yellow glow of the streetlights, piling up on the cars below. On the sidewalk, on the bare branches of the tree across the street, beautiful in a quiet, lonely kind of way. The pasta was gone before he realized he'd finished it. He rinsed the container, put it in the dishwasher, wiped down the counter with a sponge that needed replacing. From Lucas's room came the faint sound of music, something upbeat. At least he wasn't completely shut down. Daniel thought about knocking on the door, asking if Lucas wanted to play a game, watch a movie, something. Anything to connect, but he didn't, because Lucas would probably say no, and Daniel was too tired to handle another rejection today. So he sat on the couch instead. Turned on the TV, let the noise fill the silence. Some crime show. He wasn't really watching, just staring at the screen while his mind wandered to all the things he hadn't done, all the ways he was falling short, and tried not to think about how many more years it would be like this. Saturday morning came with 3 inches of fresh snow and a sky the color of concrete. Daniel had taken Lucas to hockey practice at the community rink on Maple Street. The rink was old, built in the 70s, with wooden bleachers that creaked and a Zamboni that broke down every other week. But it was cheap, and Lucas liked it, so Daniel paid for the lessons. He'd watched through the glass as Lucas stumbled around on skates that were slightly too big. Melissa said she'd buy new ones. She hadn't yet. Daniel didn't push it. Practice ran until 11. Now he had 2 hours to kill before pickup. He could go home, sit in the empty apartment, watch TV, stare at his phone, wait for time to pass. Or he could do something different. Daniel drove to Snowfall Cafe, a small place he'd passed 100 times but never entered. It was near the rink, just a few blocks away. He'd always meant to check it out. Today felt like the day. He parked on the street, got out. The cold hit him immediately. Sharp, biting. the kind of cold that made his eyes water. Inside was different. Warm air wrapped around him the moment he opened the door. The smell of cinnamon and coffee beans. Fresh bread. Vanilla. Soft music playing from speakers he couldn't see. Folk music, something acoustic and gentle. The space was small but cozy. Exposed brick walls covered with local art. Paintings of landscapes. Black and white photographs of the city. Mismatched wooden tables and chairs, each one different. String lights hanging from the ceiling, giving everything a soft glow. It felt lived in, comfortable, real. The line was short. 3 people ahead of him. A teenage couple holding hands, sharing earbuds. An older man with a gray beard, reading a newspaper folded in half. Daniel studied the menu on the wall behind the counter. Handwritten in chalk. More options than he expected. Specialty lattes with names like Winter Whisper and Cinnamon Dream. Teas. Hot chocolate. Pastries. He'd just get black coffee. Maybe a muffin, if they looked good. The couple ordered 2 cappuccinos. Paid. Moved to the waiting area by the pickup counter. The old man stepped up, ordered tea and a croissant. Then it was Daniel's turn. But before he could speak, a voice behind the older man said, "I'm so sorry. I thought I had enough." Daniel looked over. A woman stood there, digging through her purse with increasing desperation. Brown hair pulled back in a loose ponytail, pieces falling around her face. Green scarf wrapped twice around her neck, cheeks red from the cold outside. She wore jeans and a black coat with a small coffee stain on the sleeve, worn sneakers with frayed laces. She looked stressed, tired, like she'd been running on empty for too long. "I have $6, she said to the barista. Her voice carried embarrassment. Apology. "I thought the total was $5.50. The barista was young, maybe 19. Nose ring, purple hair pulled into a bun. She looked uncomfortable, shifting her weight from one foot to the other. "It's $6.20 with tax." "Right, of course." The woman kept searching her bag, fingers moving through the contents frantically. "Wallet, keys, receipts. I might have change in my car. Give me 1 second." She started to turn toward the door. Daniel stepped forward. "I've got it." She turned back, eyes wide, green. Tired around the edges, surprised. "Oh, no. You don't have to. It's 20 cents. He handed the barista $1. "Keep the change." The barista took it with visible relief, nodded, turned to make the drink. The woman stared at Daniel. "Thank you. Really. I don't usually. I mean, I thought I had my wallet organized, but apparently I don't know how to count anymore. It happens. Not to me. I'm usually..." She stopped herself, laughed a little, self-deprecating. "Sorry, I'm rambling. Thank you." "No problem." The barista called out. "Medium vanilla latte." The woman took it carefully, held it with both hands like she was trying to warm them. Her hands were small, thin fingers, a small scar on her left knuckle. Recent, maybe. She looked at Daniel again. "I'm Claire." "Daniel." They shook hands. Hers was cold despite the latte. Soft. She had a gentle grip. "Do you come here often?" she asked, then immediately winced, closing her eyes for a second. That sounded like a line. "I didn't mean it like a line. I just meant, have you been here before? Because I haven't, and I'm trying to figure out if it's any good." Daniel almost smiled. When was the last time someone had been nervous talking to him? "Sometimes. My son has hockey nearby." "Oh." She relaxed visibly. Her shoulders dropped. "My daughter takes ballet a few blocks over. I usually wait in the car with a book, but it's freezing today, so I thought I'd actually go inside somewhere with heat." "Yeah." "Good call." An awkward pause settled between them. The kind that happens when 2 strangers run out of script. Claire shifted her weight from one foot to the other, adjusted the scarf around her neck, Daniel noticed she wore sneakers that had seen better days. The soles were worn down on one side. "Well," Claire said finally, gripping her latte tighter. "Thanks again for the 20 cents. I owe you." "You don't." "I do. Maybe I'll see you around." "Maybe." She gave him a small smile. Genuine. Then turned and walked to a table by the window. Daniel ordered his coffee and a blueberry muffin. Paid. Waited while the barista made his drink. When his order came up, he looked around for a place to sit. Most tables were taken. Couples sharing pastries, a group of college students with laptops, someone working on a crossword puzzle, a few spots at the counter, one empty chair near the back. His eyes landed on Claire. She was sitting alone, staring out the window at the snow. Her latte sat untouched in front of her, steam rising in thin wisps. She looked sad, not crying, just sad in that quiet way people get when they think no one's watching. Like the weight of everything was pressing down. Daniel almost went to the counter. Sat by himself. Minded his own business, but something made him walk toward the window instead. "Mind if I sit here?" Claire looked up, surprised. "Oh. Sure." "Yeah." He sat down across from her, set his coffee on the table. The chair wobbled slightly. He steadied it. "How's the latte?" he asked. "Haven't tried it yet. Worried it's not good? Worried if I drink it too fast I'll have to leave." Daniel understood that. The need to make small things last. "Where's your daughter now?" "Ballet. Still has another hour." Claire finally took a sip, her eyes closed for a second. "Oh. That's good. Worth the $6.20? She laughed. A real laugh. It changed her whole face. Made her look younger, less tired. Definitely worth it. "Where's your son?" she asked. "Hockey. Same. Another hour. So we're both just killing time." "Looks like it." They sat in comfortable silence for a moment. Outside, snow continued to fall. Heavier now. People walked past the window, bundled in coats and scarves, heads down, moving quickly to get out of the cold. Cars drove slowly, cautious on the slick roads. "Do you like hockey?" Claire asked. "I don't know anything about it," Daniel admitted. "How old is he?" 7. "Does he like it?" "I think so. He's getting better. Doesn't fall as much." Claire laughed again. "That's progress. Emma keeps trying to teach me ballet terms, but I can't remember any of them. Something about first position and second position. They all look the same to me." "How old is she?" 9. "Does she like it?" "Loves it. She wants to be a professional ballerina." "I don't have the heart to tell her how hard that is." Daniel nodded. "Lucas wants to play in the NHL. Same problem." They smiled at each other. The conversation flowed easier after that. She told him about Emma's upcoming recital. The costume that cost more than it should. The hours of practice. He told her about Lucas's fear of the hockey puck, how he'd duck whenever someone shot at the goal. She asked what he did for work. He told her. IT analyst. She nodded politely, didn't ask for details. Most people didn't. He asked what she did. She hesitated. "I'm a nurse, part-time. And I work retail on weekends. That's a lot." "It is." She didn't elaborate. He didn't push. They talked about the weather, the snow, whether it would keep coming. She liked winter. He tolerated it. She said something about how snow made everything look clean. He said it made everything look the same. She laughed at that. When Daniel's phone alarm went off time to pick up Lucas, he was surprised by how quickly the hour had passed. "I should go," he said, standing. "Me too." They put on their coats, wrapped scarves. Claire grabbed her bag. They walked out together, stood in the parking lot for a moment. Snow falling between them. The world quiet, muffled. "This was nice," Claire said. "Yeah. Well, maybe I'll see you next Saturday. Maybe." She walked to a blue sedan parked across the street. Got in, sat for a moment before starting the engine. Daniel could see her through the windshield, see her take a breath, like she was gathering herself. Then she drove away. Daniel got in his own car and went to pick up Lucas. But all the way there, he kept thinking about green eyes and a woman who apologized too much, and a laugh that sounded like hope. The next Saturday, he went back to Snowfall Cafe. He told himself it was just convenient. Close to the rink, good coffee, no other reason. But when he walked in and saw Claire already there, sitting at the same table by the window, something in his chest loosened. Like a knot he didn't know he'd been carrying suddenly came undone. She saw him. Waved. He waved back. This time she had exact change. "No financial emergencies today," she said when he approached with his coffee. "Good to hear. I made sure to count everything twice. Prepared. I try." They sat at the same table. Daniel noticed she'd gotten the same drink, vanilla latte. He'd gotten black coffee again. The conversation picked up where it had left off. Easy, natural. She asked about his week. He asked about hers. She'd worked 3 12-hour shifts at the hospital. Patients were getting sicker. Flu season. He'd fixed 200 tickets. Users were getting dumber. Also, flu season, apparently. They laughed. Neither of them mentioned partners, ex-spouses, other kids, complications. They kept it surface level, safe, but it felt good. Talking to someone who didn't need anything from him, who wasn't disappointed by him, who just wanted to sit and drink coffee and watch the snow. The third Saturday, Daniel arrived early, bought his coffee and a scone, sat down at the table by the window. When Claire walked in 10 minutes later, carrying a book under her arm, she smiled when she saw him. "Saving my spot?" she asked. "Maybe," she ordered. Joined him. He noticed she'd worn the same green scarf all 3 times. Maybe it was her favorite. Maybe it was her only one. He didn't ask. "What are you reading?" She showed him the cover. Some thriller novel he'd never heard of. "Any good?" "It's fine. Predictable. But I need to know if I'm right about who did it." "You have a theory?" "Always." "Are you usually right?" "Usually." Daniel smiled. "Sounds boring." "It is. But I keep reading anyway." They fell into a rhythm after that. Every Saturday, same place, same table when they could get it. Same drinks. They talked about small things. Work, weather, shows they'd watched, books Claire had read. Daniel admitted he didn't read much anymore. Used to. Hasn't had time. She recommended a few titles anyway. Nothing heavy, just stories. They never talked about anything too personal. Never crossed into territory that might complicate things. Never asked the questions that mattered. But each week, Daniel found himself looking forward to Saturday morning more than anything else. And each week, when he left and drove to pick up Lucas, he felt a little less empty than before. On the 4th Saturday, something shifted. It was the 4th Saturday when Daniel decided to ask. He'd been thinking about it all week, rehearsing the words in his head during his commute, while fixing tickets, while making dinner, while lying in bed unable to sleep. "Would you want to get dinner sometime?" 7 words. Simple question, but it felt massive, like stepping off a cliff, because asking meant risking. Risking rejection, risking disappointment, risking hope. And hope was dangerous. But Claire made him feel something he hadn't felt in years. Not quite hope. More like curiosity. Like maybe there was more to life than work and pickup lines and frozen dinners. She arrived right on time. Same green scarf, different book. This one looked thicker. They ordered. Sat down. Daniel waited. Let her get halfway through her latte. Let the conversation settle into its usual rhythm. Then he took a breath. "Can I ask you something?" She looked up. Sure. His heart was beating too fast. "Would you want to get dinner sometime? Like, not here, somewhere else?" "A restaurant?" Claire froze. Not a small pause. A full stop. Her hand stopped midway to her cup. Her expression went carefully blank. Daniel's stomach dropped. I mean, no pressure. If you're not interested, that's totally fine. I just thought since we've been meeting here, maybe… No, She set down her cup carefully. Too carefully. I'd like that. Relief washed over him like warm water. Really? Really? She smiled, but something in her eyes looked guarded. Scared, maybe. When were you thinking? How about Friday? Friday was Lucas's weekend with Melissa. Daniel would be alone, available. Free to stay out late if things went well. Claire hesitated. Just for a second. Then nodded. Friday works. They exchanged numbers. Made a plan. Old Pine Bistro at 7. Daniel had driven past it before. Nice place. Not too fancy, not too casual. Great, he said. Great, she echoed. They finished their coffee, talked about other things. But something had changed. There was an awareness now, a nervousness that hadn't been there before. When Daniel left that day, he felt lighter, younger, like maybe things could be different. But Claire sat in her car for a long time after he drove away. Her phone buzzed. Emma. Mom, when are you coming? Claire. On my way, sweetie. She stared at the message, then at the cafe, then at her hands on the steering wheel. She typed another message. Claire. Sorry. Traffic. Be there in 10. It was a lie. There was no traffic. The roads were clear. She just needed a minute to breathe, because she'd said yes to dinner with a man she barely knew. A man who seemed kind, who made her laugh, who looked at her like she was worth looking at. And she hadn't told him the truth, that she had 2 kids at home, not one. Emma and Noah, 9 and 6, that she worked 2 jobs because one wasn't enough, that her ex-husband hadn't paid child support in 8 months and probably never would, that her house was falling apart, that her car needed new brakes, that she was 1 bad month away from everything collapsing, that she was drowning. Claire started the car. Maybe it didn't matter. Maybe one dinner could just be one dinner. An evening where she could pretend her life was simple, where she could be Claire, not Mom, not Nurse Wilson, not the woman who worked retail on weekends to make ends meet, just Claire. Maybe that would be enough. She drove to the ballet studio and picked up Emma. Friday came faster than Daniel expected. He dropped Lucas off at Melissa's place Thursday evening. Their apartment was nicer than his. 2 bedrooms, better neighborhood. She'd remarried last year. Nice guy named Trevor, worked in finance. Lucas liked him well enough. Have fun, Melissa said at the door. What? You're dressed nice. You smell like cologne. You have plans. Daniel looked down at himself. Jeans. Button-down shirt. Was it that obvious? Just dinner with a friend. Melissa smiled. Not mean, almost encouraging. Good for you. She closed the door before he could respond. Friday at work dragged. Every minute felt like an hour. He kept checking his phone, checking the time, wondering if 7 o'clock would ever arrive. At 4:30, he left the office, drove home, showered, changed 3 times before settling on dark jeans and a gray sweater. Nothing fancy, just presentable. He arrived at Old Pine Bistro at 6:55. The restaurant was warm, wood beams crossing the ceiling, soft lighting from antique fixtures, white tablecloths, candles on each table, windows looking out onto a street covered in snow. Claire was already there. She sat at a table near the window. She wore a dark blue dress, simple, elegant. Her hair was down, falling past her shoulders in soft waves, no green scarf. She looked beautiful. Daniel's breath caught. She saw him, stood, smoothed her dress nervously. Hi, she said, when he reached the table. Hi, you look wow. She blushed. Actually blushed. Thank you. You too. I mean, you look nice too. They sat. An older waitress appeared immediately, poured water, handed them menus. asked if they wanted wine. Yes, they both said at the same time, laughed, ordered a bottle of red. The wine came quickly. The waitress poured, left them alone. Daniel raised his glass. Two? To coffee? Claire offered. To coffee. They clinked glasses. Drank. The wine was good, smooth. Daniel didn't know anything about wine, but this tasted expensive. They ordered food. Steak for him, salmon for her, appetizer of bruschetta to share. Then they talked. About the weather at first. Safe topic. But then the conversation shifted naturally, the way good conversations do. Do you like your job? Claire asked. Daniel considered lying, saying yes, keeping it simple. But something about tonight made him want to be honest. Not really. It pays the bills, has good benefits. But I don't wake up excited about it. What would you do if you could do anything? He hadn't thought about that question in years. Maybe a decade. I used to want to build things. Not software. Actual things with my hands. Furniture. Cabinets. I took woodworking in high school. Really liked it. Why'd you stop? Life got complicated. Needed a real job. One with insurance and a retirement plan. Claire nodded, like she understood exactly what he meant. What about you? He asked. Do you like nursing? I do. It's hard. Exhausting. But yeah. I like helping people. And retail? Her expression changed. Tightened. That's just for money. How do you manage both? Poorly. They smiled at each other. The bruschetta arrived. They ate slowly, talking between bites. Claire told him about a patient who'd tried to smuggle his dog into the hospital in a duffel bag. The dog had barked during visiting hours. They'd found it in 10 minutes. Daniel told her about the time Lucas accidentally deleted an entire folder of his work files. 2 days of work. Gone. He'd stayed up all night recreating everything. They laughed. Real laughter. The kind that made your stomach hurt. The entrees arrived. They ate. Drank more wine. Daniel noticed how Claire cut her salmon into perfect small pieces before eating any of it. How she chewed slowly. How she set her fork down between bites. She noticed how he always took a sip of water after eating. How he folded his napkin in his lap. How he listened without interrupting. They talked about childhood. Hometowns. Favorite movies. Books. Music. Claire liked old folk music. Joni Mitchell. Simon and Garfunkel. Daniel liked classic rock. Led Zeppelin. The Who. We're dating ourselves, she said. Dating. She'd used the word dating. Maybe, Daniel said. Or maybe we just have good taste. Or both. By the time dessert came chocolate cake, they decided to share. Daniel realized something. He hadn't checked his phone once. Hadn't thought about work. Hadn't worried about tomorrow, or next week, or next year. For the first time in as long as he could remember, he felt present. Completely, entirely here. This was nice, Claire said softly, setting down her fork. Yeah, it was. She looked down at her hands. At the napkin twisted between her fingers. Claire, she didn't look up. There's something I need to tell you. And just like that, everything changed. The restaurant felt suddenly quiet despite the other diners talking around them. Claire's voice was barely above a whisper. You can leave. Daniel blinked, confused. I'm a single mom. She finally looked at him. Eyes red, jaw tight, bracing for impact. I have 2 kids. Emma's 9, Noah's 6. Their dad left 2 years ago. Doesn't help. Doesn't pay support. I work 2 jobs because one isn't enough. My house is a mess. I'm always tired. I don't have time for this. She gestured between them. Small movement. But it felt huge. For us. For dating. For someone who probably wants something simple and easy. And I'm not that. I'm complicated. I come with baggage and bedtimes and permission slips and school lunches and homework and no free time and no money and her voice cracked. She stopped. Took a breath. So you can leave, she said again. Quieter now. I won't be offended. I get it. This isn't what you signed up for when you paid for my coffee. Silence. Heavy. Suffocating. Around them, the restaurant continued. Silverware clinking. Quiet conversations. Someone laughing at another table. But at their table, everything had stopped. Claire started to stand, to grab her purse, to run before he could say anything. Claire, she froze. I'm a single dad. Her eyes widened. His name is Lucas. He's 7. His mom and I split when he was 2. I have him every other week. I work a job I hate because it has good benefits and a schedule I can depend on. I haven't been on a date in 3 years because I was too scared to let anyone in. Too scared they'd leave when they found out I came with complications. Claire sat back down slowly. I don't go out. I don't have hobbies. My idea of a wild Friday night is frozen pizza and whatever's on TV. I'm boring. I'm tired. You're a dad, Claire finished. Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't tell you. They stared at each other across the table, the candle between them flickering, shadows dancing on their faces. So, if you're waiting for me to leave, Daniel said quietly, you're going to be waiting a long time. Claire's hands were shaking. She pressed them flat against the table. I don't know how to do this, she whispered. Neither do I. I can't promise you anything. I can't promise I'll have time or energy or I'm not asking you to promise anything. Then what are you asking? Daniel thought about it. Really thought. What did he want? Just to keep talking, to keep sitting here, to keep seeing where this goes. Claire's face crumpled, not crying, but close. Her eyes filled but didn't overflow. Why didn't you tell me before? Daniel asked gently. Because every time I do, they disappear. The words hung in the air. Heavy with history, with pain, with every man who'd run when things got real. Daniel reached across the table, took her hand. It was cold, trembling. I'm not them. They stayed at the restaurant until closing. The waitress came by twice to ask if they needed anything else. The second time she smiled knowingly, brought them coffee on the house. They talked about everything they'd been holding back. Claire told him about the men she'd tried to date after her divorce. The ones who seemed interested until they met Emma and Noah. The ones who said kids were fine but meant they tolerated them. The ones who disappeared after one dinner, one date, sometimes one text. She told him about the guy who'd said he wanted to take things slow, then asked when she could get a babysitter because he wanted her to come to his place. Alone. Without the kids, because he needed to know who she was without them. She told him about the loneliness. The nights when the kids were asleep and the house was quiet and she felt like she was disappearing. Like she'd stopped being a person and become only a function. Mom, nurse, employee. Never Claire. Daniel told her about the same feeling, the same emptiness, about picking up Lucas from school and not knowing what to say, about feeling like he'd failed as a father because his son barely talked to him anymore, about the guilt of working so much, of not being there for every moment, of splitting his son between 2 houses like custody was a math problem to solve, about the apartment that felt too empty on weekends, about cooking for one, about watching TV alone and wondering if this was all there was. I don't have answers, Claire said. I don't either. I don't know if this will work. Me neither. I don't even know what this is. Neither do I. But they kept talking anyway. About bedtime routines. About packing lunches at midnight because they'd forgotten. About grocery shopping with kids who wanted everything. About the impossible math of single-parent budgets. About how hard it was to ask for help. How exhausting it was to always be strong. To always have the answers. To never fall apart, because falling apart wasn't an option when someone depended on you. They talked about their ex-spouses. Daniel's was civil. Melissa was a good mom. They coexisted fine. Claire's ex was gone. Completely. No calls. No visits. No child support. Just gone. Do they miss him? Daniel asked. Noah doesn't remember him well. Emma does. She asks sometimes. I don't know what to say. What do you say? That he loves them, but he can't be here. That it's not their fault. The things the books tell you to say. Do they believe it? I don't know. No one made promises. No one said, I love you, or we'll figure it out, or everything will be fine. They just said, I understand. And for the first time in years, both of them felt seen. Not as parents. Not as employees. Not as burdens or complications. As people. When they finally left the restaurant, snow was falling heavier. The streets were covered. Their cars were buried. Claire pulled her coat tight. The blue dress peeked out beneath. Her sneakers were soaked within seconds. I should have worn better shoes, she said. I should have checked the weather. They stood in the parking lot. Snow catching in her hair. In his eyelashes. Thank you for staying, she said. For what? For staying when I told you. Thank you for telling me. She looked up at him. Snow falling between them. The world quiet. Muffled. Can I see you again? Daniel asked. Claire hesitated. And in that hesitation, he saw all her fear, all her doubt, all the times she'd been let down. Then she nodded. Yeah. I'd like that. They texted almost every day after that. Daniel. How's your shift? Claire. Long. Yours? Daniel. Same. Claire. Want to meet for coffee tomorrow? Daniel. Yes. Simple messages, nothing heavy. But it felt like something. Like they were building towards something real. They met for coffee twice more over the next 2 weeks. Different cafes. Same easy conversation. But Daniel noticed something. Claire never invited him to her house. Never suggested meeting Emma and Noah. Kept him carefully separated from the rest of her life. When he mentioned it, she deflected. They're not ready. Or you're not ready. She looked away. They were sitting in his car. Parked outside a cafe. Engine off. Heat fading slowly from the vents. I don't want to confuse them, she said. Confuse them how? By bringing someone into their lives who might not stay. Daniel felt the sting of that. You think I won't stay? I don't know. What would it take for you to know? She looked at him. Tired. Guarded. Scared. Time. So Daniel gave her time. He stopped pushing. Stopped asking about the kids. Let her control the pace. The boundaries. The distance. But it was hard. He wanted to know her. All of her. Not just the version she showed him for an hour at a time in public places. He wanted to see where she lived. What her house looked like. What her kids were like. What her real life was. But she kept him at arm's length. And he didn't know how to bridge the gap without scaring her away. 3 weeks after their first date, they met for lunch. A sandwich shop near her work. She looked exhausted. Dark circles under her eyes. Hair pulled back messily. Rough night? He asked. Noah had a fever. Up until 3. Still went to work at 6. Jesus, Claire. It's fine. It's not fine. What am I supposed to do? Call in? I can't afford that. Daniel wanted to help. Wanted to say something useful. But what? He couldn't fix her job. Couldn't fix her finances. Couldn't make her ex-husband pay support. I'm sorry, he said instead. It's not your fault, but he still felt like he should do more. The next day, he texted her. Daniel, I want to meet them. She didn't respond for 2 hours. Claire. Who? Daniel, Emma, and Noah. Another hour passed. Claire. I don't know if that's a good idea. Daniel. Why not? Claire. Because what if this doesn't work? Daniel. What if it does? No response. A month after their first date, Daniel decided he couldn't wait anymore. They were sitting in his car again. Parked outside Claire's workplace, she'd just finished her shift. Still in scrubs, hair tied back, face bare. She looked beautiful anyway. I want to meet them, he said. Claire's face went pale. Daniel, not as your boyfriend, Not as anything serious, just as a friend. Someone who exists in your life. They're not ready. Or you're not ready. That's not fair. Maybe not. But it's true. She stared straight ahead. At the hospital building. At the people coming and going. At anything but him. I don't know how to do this, she said quietly. You keep saying that, because it's true. I don't know how to let someone in. I don't know how to risk them leaving. I don't know. So what? We just keep meeting in parking lots forever. I don't know. Daniel exhaled slowly, trying to stay calm, trying not to push too hard. I like you, Claire. A lot. But I can't keep waiting on the sidelines. I can't keep being the secret you hide from your real life. She looked at him, eyes wet. What are you saying? I'm saying I want to be part of your life. The real one. Not just the version you show me for an hour here and there. And if it doesn't work, if you meet them and decide it's too much, then it doesn't work. But at least we tried. And if they get attached? If they start to care and then you leave? I won't leave. You can't promise that. You're right. I can't. But I can promise I won't leave because of them. I won't leave because it's hard. I won't leave because being a single mom is part of who you are. Claire wiped her eyes. Mascara smudged. She didn't seem to care. This is scary, she whispered. I know. I've been doing this alone for so long. You don't have to anymore. She sat in silence for a long time. Daniel didn't push, just waited. Finally, she nodded. Okay. Come over tomorrow, Sunday, just for dinner. As a friend, Daniel felt his heart race. Are you sure? No. But I'm doing it anyway. Sunday came cold and bright. Claire's house was on Willow Street, a small one-story ranch at the end of a cul-de-sac. Snow piled on the roof, icicles hanging from the gutters. A snowman in the front yard, slightly lopsided, with a carrot nose and stick arms. Daniel parked in the driveway behind the blue sedan, took a breath, walked to the door. Before he could knock, it opened. Claire stood there in jeans and a sweater. Hair down. No makeup. She looked nervous. Welcome to the chaos. She stepped aside. He stepped inside. The house was small, lived in, warm. The entryway opened into the living room. Toys everywhere. Legos scattered across the floor. A dollhouse in the corner. Coloring books on the coffee table. A basket of laundry on the couch, half folded. The walls were covered with kids' artwork, crayon drawings, finger paintings, a handprint turkey from Thanksgiving. It felt real, chaotic, alive. Sorry about the mess, Claire said automatically. It's fine. I tried to clean, but, Claire. It's fine. Two kids appeared from the hallway. The girl Emma was tall for 9, long brown hair, her mother's green eyes. She wore a pink ballet shirt and leggings. The boy, Noah, was smaller, 6 years old with dark hair and freckles. He wore a dinosaur t-shirt. Guys, this is Daniel, Claire said. He's a friend from the coffee shop. Emma studied him carefully, assessing. Do you like pizza? Daniel smiled. Yeah, I do. Good. Mom said we're having pizza. Noah didn't say anything, just stared, clutching a toy dinosaur. Nice to meet you both, Daniel said. Emma nodded. Do you have kids? I have a son. His name is Lucas. He's 7. Does he like Legos? He does. Maybe he can come over sometime. Daniel's chest tightened. Maybe. Noah still didn't speak. Just watched. Dinner was messy. They ordered pizza. Pepperoni and cheese. Ate at the small dining table that had seen better days. One chair wobbled. The tablecloth had a stain. Noah spilled juice within 5 minutes. Purple grape juice spreading across the table. Claire jumped up with paper towels. Apologized. Emma talked non-stop. About ballet. About school. About her best friend Madison, who'd moved away last month. About how she wanted a dog but Mom said no because they couldn't afford it. Claire looked embarrassed. Emma, what? We can't. It's okay, Daniel said. After dinner, he helped clean up, washed dishes while Claire wiped down the table. The kitchen was small. They kept bumping into each other, apologizing, laughing. Emma appeared in the doorway. Daniel, do you want to see my room? Claire started to say no, but Daniel answered first. Sure. He followed Emma down the hall. Her room was pink. Posters of ballerinas on the walls. A small bed with a floral comforter. Stuffed animals piled in the corner. Ballet shoes hanging on a hook. This is where I practice, she said, demonstrating a pirouette in the small space. That's good. I'm going to be a professional ballerina. That's a big dream. Mom says I should have a backup plan. But I don't need one. I'm going to be good enough. The confidence of a 9-year-old. Daniel remembered Lucas having that once. I bet you will be. Emma showed him her stuffed animals, named each one, told him their birthdays. She had them organized by type, bears together, dogs together. The unicorn separate because it was special. Does Lucas have stuffed animals? She asked. A few. Does he still sleep with them? Sometimes. She nodded seriously. I still do too. Noah does every night. He has this elephant Mom gave him when he was a baby. When Daniel came back to the kitchen, Claire was leaning against the counter, arms crossed, waiting. Thank you, she said quietly. For what? For not running. Daniel stepped closer. I told you, I'm not going anywhere. Noah appeared then. Still hadn't said a word to Daniel. But he walked up, held out his dinosaur. This is Rex, he said. Voice small, serious. Cool. What kind of dinosaur is Rex? T-Rex. The best kind. The best kind, Daniel agreed. Noah smiled. Small, but real. Then ran back to the living room. Claire's eyes were wet. He doesn't talk to strangers. I'm honored. They stood in the kitchen together. Close. The sounds of the kids playing in the other room. The dishwasher running. The heater humming. This is my life, Claire said. Looking around at the cramped kitchen, the chipped countertop, the magnets on the fridge holding school papers and permission slips. It's not glamorous. It's not organized. It's chaos most of the time. I know. And you're still here. I'm still here. She looked at him. Really looked. Like she was seeing him for the first time. Or maybe seeing herself reflected in his eyes. Someone worth staying for. You mean that? I do. Daniel didn't fix everything. He couldn't. Claire's life was still hard. The bills still piled up. Work still drained her. Noah still got sick. Emma still needed things they couldn't afford. But he kept showing up, not as a hero, not as a solution, just as someone who was there. He came over for dinner once a week, sometimes twice. Brought groceries occasionally, not in a way that felt like charity, just in a way that said, I noticed you were low on milk. He helped Emma with her math homework. Fractions, long division, things he'd forgotten how to do but relearned on the internet so he could help. He taught Noah how to tie his shoes, patient, gentle. Over and over, until Noah got it. He washed dishes without being asked. Folded laundry while Claire put the kids to bed. Fixed the wobbly chair. Changed a light bulb. Small things, normal things, things that added up. Claire stopped apologizing for the mess. Stopped trying to hide the hard parts. Stopped pretending her life was anything other than what it was. One night, after the kids were asleep, they sat on the couch together. The house was quiet. Snow falling outside. The only light came from the kitchen. I don't know what we're doing, Claire said. Me neither. I don't know where this is going. Me neither. But it feels right. Daniel took her hand, laced their fingers together. Yeah, it does. She leaned her head on his shoulder, closed her eyes. They sat like that for a long time, not talking, not moving, just being. Outside, the snow kept falling, covering the street, the cars, the snowman in the yard. Winter wasn't over yet. There would be more cold days, more hard nights, more struggles. But inside, something warmer was beginning to grow, something that felt like home. And for the first time in years, both of them believed it might last.